You are now tuned into the SoCHiology podcast. SoCHiology is a lifestyle brand that analyzes Chicago culture and connected topics abroad, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. A few weeks ago, I was down in Houston, Texas, and we was at this nice lounge, bar, whatever you want to call it. Houston has all these different types of lounges and things like that. It's a whole vibe down in that city. One of my favorite cities outside of Chicago, of course. But anyway, we was there, having a good time. We had hookah, we drinking shots of Douce, Remy. We having a good ass time. And we got like the whole little area to ourselves. So we didn't reserve this area. We was like basically at a table, and it was another table, and both tables was like kind of walled off from the rest of the common area, right? And above these two tables was a big TV. Now, we was at our table having a good time, but it was one party at the other table. They did their thing, they left. Then another party came at the table. They did their thing, and they left. So eventually, it was just us over there. Now, here's the thing. We wanted to watch the game. It was Sunday night. Sunday night football was on, okay? And I believe it was the Chiefs and the Raiders that was playing that night. Yeah, that's who was playing that night, the Chiefs and the Raiders. So that's a good-ass game. We want to see it. But on this TV, they playing some shit that ain't nobody paying attention to. Now, imagine, this lounge is lit. It's Houston, right? Everybody drunk, everybody drinking, everybody smoking hookah, having a good time. Ain't nobody paying attention to this little lonely-ass TV over here. So I asked the server if they can turn the game on. She said, sure, I'll go get the manager. Couple minutes later, the manager walks up to me with the remote in his hand. He was like, what channel do you want me to turn it to? And I instinctively replied, Channel 5. That's what I told him. He looked at me, I looked at him, and then it dawned on me. It's not Channel 5. It's NBC. NBC was the correct response to him, because you got to understand something. I'm so ingrained in Chicago culture. And this episode is not Chicago specific, but nevertheless, it's Chicago shit. All right. Now, I'm 33 years old. I'm not too old, but I'm not too young to remember the days before streaming, social media, all of that shit throughout the 90s and the early 2000s, when you ain't got cable, when you're at your grandparents' house, and in my case, I was at my grandma's house, you are watching Channel 2, Channel 5, Channel 7, 9, 32, 50, and 26 WCIU from time to time. That's all you watching when you at your grandma's house, or that's all you watching when you didn't have cable growing up. So when the manager asked me what channel does he want me to turn it to, I instinctively said Channel 5, because that's what's ingrained in me from my Chicago roots, even though the answer, the network, was NBC. Sunday Night Football is on NBC. So that's what this episode of Twiz Theater, the second edition of Twiz Theater, but the 41st episode of SoCHiology is talking about this week. It's simply talking about TV. What station is it on? That's what my grandma used to say all the time. What station is it on? She ain't say what channel. She said what station is it on? The TV station. TV is everywhere nowadays. It's on our phone. You probably listening to this podcast on your phone. It's on your computers. It's everywhere. Streaming is everywhere. This is the way of the future, but it wasn't always like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you always had those few channels, and in Chicago, these was the channels. Channel 2. That's what I grew up knowing it as, but Channel 2 was CBS. On CBS, you had Walker, Texas Ranger. Yeah. You had Gunsmoke. And you had my personal favorite, Price is Right. I always wanted to spin that damn wheel, and I still do want to spin that wheel. Maybe we might get a SoCHiology wheel one day. I don't know. But that was Channel 2 in my world growing up in Chicago. And that was Channel 2 in your world as well if you lived in Chicago. But it was CBS. That was the network. Then, of course, the aforementioned Channel 5, NBC. Everybody loved NBC. Bill Cosby was going to buy NBC, right? That's what they love to say. But on NBC, you had, yes, The Cosby Show. You had The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You had Jerry Springer. Jerry. That's some Chicago shit for you right there. Jerry Springer. Low-key, we ain't had no business watching Jerry Springer as kids, but we was watching the hell out that shit. You know what I'm saying? You had all these people on Jerry Springer wilding out. Jerry Springer was ahead of his time, because when you look at how things are nowadays, Because when you look at a lot of content nowadays, most of it derives from that Jerry Springer model. You bring the drama on there, you have them conflict with each other, and we laugh at it and we find entertainment from it. But Jerry Springer was on NBC, Channel 5. What else was on NBC? We had ER for all you Grey's Anatomy fans out there. ER was on NBC. And of course, we cannot forget, we all love the NBA. Steph Curry going crazy. You got KD, all of them. But never forget, NBA on NBC was a certain vibe. It was a certain vibe just to watch NBA on NBC and to hear the round ball theme song. I forgot the name of it, but y'all know the theme song I'm talking about. When NBA on NBC came on, that theme song that started to come on, that started to play, you know what I'm talking about. That was the vibe and those was the days. Then we had Channel 7, ABC. Now, before Monday Night Football went to ESPN, it was on ABC. I remember the very first Monday Night Football game I watched, the Bears played the Vikings and they fucking won. It was a low-scoring, boring-ass game, but I was up all night watching that shit, and I should have been asleep getting ready for school. But the Bears beat the Vikings. It was like 10-3 or some shit. It was a very boring-ass game, and it was in Minnesota. I'm going to try to look it up and Google it to see what night that was. But it was the very first Monday Night Football game I remember watching. Monday Night Football was on Channel 7, right? What else we had on Channel 7? You had Doogie Howser. You had Oprah, Chicago shit, right? Oprah, nationally known, worldwide icon, but it started in Chicago. You had the Wonder Years, and now they have a remake of the Wonder Years, and I watched a few episodes. I like it so far, but I got to really hunker down and focus on it. The Wonder Years, and then my favorite on Channel 7, the different programming blocks. You know, you had TGI Friday, Family Matters, Boy Meets World, Step by Step, Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Then the following morning, you had One Saturday Morning with Recess, Schoolhouse Rock. Then you had The Wonderful World of Disney, where they would play a lot of Disney classics. They would play some of the Disney movies. Well, after they had their run at the theaters, they would play them on The Wonderful World of Disney. Channel 7 was amazing. It was magical, as they love to say, you know. Then we had Channel 9. Now we really into some Chicago shit. So, Chicago Tribune, right? One of the major newspapers in the country. One of the two major newspapers here in Chicago, opposite of the Chicago Sun-Times. Now, the Chicago Tribune had a slogan when they were founded in the 1800s. They called themselves the world's greatest newspaper. What derives from those three words? An acronym, WGN. That's how Channel 9 got its name, WGN, World's Greatest Newspaper. So Channel 9 was one of those channels where it brought us classics. Channel 9 is one of those channels that brought us very few classics, but those classics loom so large. You got Bozo the Clown. We all know Bozo if you in Chicago. Bozo the Clown. Then you had Soul Train, Don Cornelius. See, a lot of people don't understand. Once again, Chicago shit. Started in Chicago, Soul Train, nationwide brand. I grew up in the Shamar Moore era of Soul Train. But before Shamar Moore, it was Don Cornelius. He was the creative force. He was the founder. He was the staple of Soul Train. WGN brought us Soul Train. WGN also brought us the Weekend Theater. Right? With that little dog, that cartoon dog on the cartoon TV with the popcorn on the side. And they would show classic movies on the weekend. Weekend Theater. WGN gave me a lot of peaceful days. And I love watching Soul Train. I love watching Bozo. I love watching these things on the weekend. It was very fulfilling. And then, of course, they had local sports on WGN as well. High school sports, things of that nature. Then we had Martin on Channel 32. Channel 32 is Fox. Martin is the only thing I would watch on Fox growing up, to my recollection, in Chicago. You know, I wasn't checking for Channel 32 like that, really. You know, I was checking for Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel 9. My grandma was always checking for Channel 2, but I wasn't really checking for Channel 32 like that. But Martin is really all they had, at least to my knowledge and to my heart. That's all they had, and that's the only thing I really watched on Channel 32. Then we had Channel 50, UPN. Now, UPN brought us so many classics. You had Moesha, you had The Parkers, you had Girlfriends, you had Star Trek Voyager. That's some shit you would watch late at night when you ain't have shit else to watch, you know what I'm saying, and you ain't want to go to sleep. Star Trek Voyager was on, and I really wasn't a personal fan of Star Trek in general, but I would watch that shit. But UPN gave us a lot of classics, man. Everybody Hates Chris, Veronica Mars, you know what I'm saying. It's just, the list goes on. They gave us WWE or WWF. back in the day. You know what I'm saying? UPN is very underrated, and it doesn't get the appreciation that it deserves. It gave us the Wayans brothers, you know. It gave us Malcolm and Eddie. It gave us so much rich content. UPN is very slept on, and, you know, it's gone now. It's defunct. I believe it's the CW now. But, you know, it's just... UPN was one of the greatest. But UPN was one of the most slept on MVPs back in that era. Then we had WCIU. WCIU, Channel 26, is actually where Soul Train started. Soul Train started on WCIU. Then it moved to WGN when it became syndicated. But WCIU had a lot of good stuff on them. Basically a lot of local television, a lot of local sports. But I appreciate WCIU Channel 26. Then we had a bunch of other stuff. Growing up, you know, as 2000 started to progress, we had Channel 19, Wallacam for all the footwork and juking scene. You know what I'm saying? We had Steppin' at Club 7. Steppin' at Club 7, I believe, was on Channel 7, if my memory serves me correctly. Stepping at Club 7 was basically what it is. You're stepping at a club, and, you know, you had all these couples, you know, dressed in the walking suits, and, you know, all these suits, you know, just matching suits with the dresses, you know, getting it in, grooving, you know, it was just amazing. And my uncle was a stepper set king and queen. Him and his wife, they won a lot of things. They won a V103 stepper set. They won a lot of things. So that's how I got acclimated and introduced to stepping on Club 7. But the point of this entire podcast, ladies and gentlemen, is this. All of these networks I just named off are national, at least most of them. Most of them are national. Fox is everywhere. Oprah was everywhere. Soul Train was everywhere. ABC is everywhere. NBC is everywhere. CBS is everywhere. And like I said, it's not Chicago specific, but it's Chicago shit nonetheless, because growing up, you ain't say Fox, you ain't say NBC, you ain't say ABC. You said Channel 2, Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 26, WCIU, Channel 32, or Channel 50. That was it. That was it. That's all you knew. And as Chicagoans, that's all we know, and that's all I knew when I was in Houston on that Sunday night and I just wanted to watch Sunday Night Football. That's all I knew. So when he asked me, what channel do I turn it to? I said Channel 5, and he looked at me like I was crazy as hell, because I was crazy as hell. They don't know what the hell Channel 5 is. Their Channel 5 is probably something else. Their Channel 5 is not our Channel 5. The proper answer was NBC, but the Chicago in me don't recognize NBC. It recognizes Channel 5. That's it. That's all. And I'll be remiss if I ignored the fact that in college at Western Illinois University, I was a broadcasting major, because I grew up watching a lot of these channels in my spare time, as well as cable channels once that became a thing for our family. So I would be remiss if I left out this random fact that you are never going to use or need in your life. And it's simply this. Every broadcasting station to the east of the Mississippi starts with a W. Every broadcast station to the west of the Mississippi starts with a K. And that's that. If you enjoyed this podcast, I ask for two things. Number one, leave a 5-star review. And number two, pass it on to a friend who may enjoy it as well. And don't forget to subscribe to our other podcast, Mogul Motivation from True Stories Media.